Hello and good morning, everyone. I'm Jonathan Bonadio from SolarPower Europe, and I'm delighted to be today on the esplanade of the European Parliament together with MEP Sean Kelly and Eva Vandest from Amarenco, the chair of the Land Use and Permitting Workstream, to discuss about Agrisolar. So today is a great day for renewables, actually, because not only we have sun here, but we also have a lot of wind. So this plays a lot for system integration of renewables and making sure that renewables can also work hand in hand. So we are now at the beginning of a new era, of a new political cycle, and the Parliament, and the Commission, and the Council. Solar has been booming in the recent years. We have installed in total more than 260, 70 gigawatts of solar power, which is the equivalent of one solar panel per inhabitant. So we can rejoice of these results, but of course there is no time for complacency. There are big challenges ahead. There are the grids, the flexibility that must be reinforced, the infrastructure, the manufacturing that should be relocated, reshored to Europe. And one very important element also is the adequacy of solar with nature, with people, and with existing uses such as agriculture. So a lot of challenges, a lot of opportunities in the next mandate, in the cycle. So welcome indeed to this solar session as we enter the new cycle. And first, maybe a question to you, Mr. Kelly. So congratulations for this re-election. A very simple question. How does it feel to start a new mandate, a new political cycle in Brussels? What do you feel will be the hot topics in the coming months and years for the Parliament in this area?
Thank you very much for your congratulations. I'm delighted to be back in Parliament because I think this mandate is a continuation of the last mandate in terms of making the legislation in the last mandate, now making it happen. And to do that, first of all, we need to have a very clear plan, what we want to do to reach the 90% targets by 2040. So we've no time to waste. That will involve looking at the difficulties that are there. Number one, finance. We'll have to have a good, clear budget, particularly, I think, for renewables. And also, of course, we must make sure it happens quickly. That means addressing obstacles, which are terrible in my country, of planning and permitting, and reducing red tape. So if we want to achieve our targets, we have to say, by 2030, we're going to have this. By 2040, we're going to have this. To make it happen, this is what we're going to do. And we'll have to monitor it every year between here and the end of this mandate.
Thanks indeed for your reply. I mean, I keep in mind one element that you mentioned, planning, permitting. This is not happening in Brussels. This is happening on the ground. These are the local government, the local municipalities, the regions that actually deliver the permits. And I believe permitting and planning is also deeply embedded with public acceptance, how local authorities, how the public perceives solar. I mean, we heard that sometimes solar can have dual use of land. So making sure that we keep the existing use of land, because we will need this land for instance, agriculture, forestry. But for agriculture, we also have a solution to reinforce public acceptance and keep both use of lands, which is agrivoltaism, agri-PV. As we know, agri-PV, when it's well done, well implemented, could actually lead to higher yield in terms of crop yields, up to 30% higher, can improve biodiversity, up to 60% biodiversity, can also improve land efficiency, so how we use the land by 200%, and last but not least, increase, for instance, pollinators or insects, which are vital for our ecosystem. So in this context, I mean, I have a question for both of you, but I will maybe start with Eva. I mean, the question I was about to ask is, what do you know about agri-PV? But I know that you know so much about agri-PV that maybe I will start with another question. You are currently in France, right? How is agri-PV perceived in your country in terms of public aspects, and how do, for instance, the farmer perceive this newcomer in the energy system?
So it's a bit paradoxal because agri-PV, in a way, is very well perceived. And the proof is the attractiveness of this new kind of business model of dual use of land, changing the approach of PV development we have, considering a co-location of production on the same piece of land, solving this competition of land. So globally, it's very well perceived by the farmers themselves, by the population, the media, the politician, and the solar developer. We saw this with our Workstream. So many people has interest in it and join or work to understand and develop their knowledge on agri-PV. But at the same time, we are also facing a strong opposition. I think this is quite common also to PV and wind development everywhere, because as we are more exposed and about accelerating and developing massively this kind of project, of course there is still opposition and people that stay skeptical. So I think the work we did at SolarPower with the best practices guidelines we published, version 1 and version 2, were very important to put limit on this market and to understand what is working, what is not, and to have best practices to approach correctly this kind of business model and ensure the quality of the project and keep the acceptability. This is really key for this.
So for acceptability, basically, it's about keeping the population aware, educating the population, but also educating project developers and to make the best project possible. Mr. Kelly, I mean, in your constituency, in your country, how is Agrisolar perceived and how is it developing? Do you have the same challenges and also the same opportunities as Eva mentioned?
Well, I'll tell you now. In my country, citizens, I would say, by and large, are not even aware of Agrisolar. The agricultural community and the broader community are aware and are partial to rooftop solar and solar farms, which a lot of objections are occurring to. Agrisolar is not mentioned much. The points you mentioned about helping biodiversity, farm productivity, people are not aware of it. So I think what we should do here immediately in Brussels is say that we're going to have one major demonstration Agrisolar farm in every member state, so that the public would see what's there, so farmers would see what's there, and people wouldn't be saying then you're taking productive land out of agriculture and into solar and objecting accordingly. So Agrisolar, to my mind, is almost like a hidden gem, which we need to take out, show to the public, and develop. And I think farmers would respond very, very enthusiastically if they were more aware of its benefits, because there are no negatives.
I really like this idea. I mean, to have a demonstrator, to have something to showcase and to show actually that you have not only benefits for energy production, but also for agriculture. I mean, you are sitting in the parliament in the ENVI, and both ENVI and ITRE committee. So I had to ask the question, I mean, how could you and the parliament reconcile these both sides of the system, which is on the one hand producing renewable energy, and on the other hand maintaining and developing biodiversity, safeguarding ecosystems, etc.?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I wanted to be on board committees, because they're complementary, and often I've seen in the past they have been at odds with one another often. So we need to reconcile both. We need to be very clear on what we want to do, and we also need to work with the Agricultural Committee. And I think one of the things we should be looking at is for farmers in particular to have one aspect of CAP devoted to Agrisolar renewables, where it would be part of what we call acres. Two, it would be a scheme which they could buy into, get paid for, and then that would really showcase what we are able to do. So we at Parliament level have to be creative. We have to look at what we need to achieve to deal with the issues in relation to climate change and how we're going to do it. And I think by cooperating, particularly the major committees, I think we can create the groundwork for that to happen across the European Union.
Okay, so it's really a matter of bringing committees ITRE, ENVI, Agri together and make sure that they work together. So from the ITRE committee, from the Parliament, from Brussels to the ground, Eva, how can we reconcile, can we make sure that solar project developers and farmers, these are two words that didn't speak much before together, to each other, how can we make sure that they work hand in hand in this new deployment of solar PV, especially agri PV?
Yes, and I would like to answer also to the comparison, for example, on France and Ireland. And it was the first pillar of our guidelines, the fact that the most important to succeed in Agrisolar is to start with farmer needs. And farmer needs in Italy, in Spain, in south of France is not the same that in north of Europe. And the farming sector is not facing the same challenge in Ireland than in France or other country when we talk about climate change, for example. And so we really stand for keeping the flexibility of the solution and the installation we want to keep for the farmers, which is made quite complicated to approach the thing at a European level and a European policy, because then you will have to be closest to the ground. But when we look at the extreme diversity in Europe of farming sector, I think if we want to succeed, we have to address very locally also this model. But doesn't mean that European policy can encourage member states and indeed maintaining the cap for the farmers, because we want to keep the agricultural production with the energy production. So there is no issue. We need to keep the cap subsidy for the farmer who keep their agricultural production. Also, one major issue is in some country, in Spain, for example, farmer can't have multiple use of land. And not only in PV, I think, and with Agrisolar, but Agrisolar is really a bit opening the way multiple use of land now we know is very interesting as an approach, because those activities can really help each other instead of having a unique function for land. So in France, it's allowed. Germany shift the last past year. In Spain, it's still blocked. So maybe at European level, we can help with that. And the second, I'm very glad to hear that MV and ITRE will work together. It is our mojo at Amarenco, our raison d'être, to reconcile economy and ecology. We think both doesn't have to be opposite at all, because industry need natural resources. Humans need natural resources to live, to have a wealth economy. So the second pillar of our guidelines for Agrisolar we are addressing farming, working with soil, working with ecosystem, with biodiversity, was to encourage to use this business model, thriving some investment, thriving some money and extra revenue on the farm to help the farmers transitioning toward more ecological practice. Because we know the farming sector need to make this move quite quickly if we look at the scientific data now, and we need to finance them, we need to support them. We can't let them alone facing climate change and disaster, and we believe that this Agrisolar business model can be a solution.
Kelly, do you share these statements about accompanying the sector and also making sure that, I mean, the first ask was about the cap, also to keep the cap. Is it also something that you share in terms of priorities for the agri PV sector?
Absolutely, and I think if it's approached properly, and maybe bring in the farming organisations and tell them of the opportunities so they can spread the word amongst their members, I think they'll be very receptive. Because, as you outlined in the beginning, this is actually a win-win, where they can actually improve productivity, improve their income, and also help to reduce emissions. And I think not enough credit is being given to the majority of farmers who really want to farm in an ecologically positive way. They want to have more biodiversity, they want to reduce emissions, but obviously they also need to make a living. So if it's costing them and they're losing, which some will say they are at the moment, then obviously that's going to be a negative. But when there are positives, like Agrisolar, this is huge and can be developed extremely quickly, because I think the desire is there, but we haven't got the message across yet. And I think we can do that, particularly now that Ursula von der Leyen has had this strategic dialogue report and is now going to make proposals within the first 100 days of the new commission. And I think also, if what I hear, that the new agriculture commissioner is going to be a member of the DPP, whom I know well, he'll be very well aware of this as well, and that will be a big help. So we must pull all our positive resources together, deal with the negatives, and say, this is how we're going to do it. These are the obstacles which we see. We'll try and remove them, and we will help, particularly in relation to simplification. Because I've seen too often, back home in Ireland, I'm sure the same across the European Union, individuals, be they farmers or business people, who are genuinely trying to help to reduce emissions. A scheme would come out, they'd say, we'll go into that scheme, and then after a while they'd say, oh, it's too much trouble. It's trouble, red tape, and then they say it isn't worth it. So we've really got to grapple with the red tape, because Ursula von der Leyen gave me a commitment at an EPP summit about 2 years ago, and she'll follow through on it, to reduce red tape by 25%. If we can do that, then I think, as we'd say in Ireland, we'll be on the pig's back.
Yeah, indeed. And we will all see how the commissioners are going to be are currently nominated, but now they are going to be heard by the Parliament in the coming month, in October, and we'll see indeed, hopefully, that agri-PV will be a priority also for the next agri-commissioner. Eva, a question. It's not Christmas yet, but we have a bit of a December weather. So I might ask you, if you have a Christmas wish list to policymakers in Europe to really favor agri-PV, to boost agri-PV on the ground at member state level, what would it be?
My first answer won't be for agri-PV itself. It will be for PV in general, let's say. We had crazy past 4 years. It was really a race. And we are very glad with that. I mean, solar makes such a jump, and I really think renewables are a solution for sovereignty, for energy security, and we need to develop them as quickly as possible. And we worked a lot on the acceleration packages, on the Renewable Directive number 3. We have, I think, all the rules now we need to accelerate. Now we need to implement. I think this is really so... European politicians should, let's say, be proud of what they achieve, and I really hope this new path will be to support the member states and helping the member state to implement. Because, to be honest with you, we don't really see it to date in member state happening. So that's the first thing. As an investor, as business, as economic player, we need also stability and visibility, predictability. We are in such careful world right now with very volatile market, which is in energy or in farming sector also. I talk with farmers, and every politician are asking us on plan, what will you cultivate for the next 20 years? And the farmer told me, but in 6 months, I don't know, because I don't know the price on the market, and I need to keep this flexibility. So it's and the inflation, the interest rate, etc. Well, everything is moving. So maybe what we expect from politicians is also to secure those markets and at least to keep the rule, to keep the cap we fixed. I think we are glad with this cap, and now really to focus on the implementation of it and support member states and local also player, engage with the region, engage with territory in Europe to really understand also the rules, because it's quite complex. Regarding agri-PV, I think I mentioned already, let's say the two main thing. It's really keeping the cap and for the farmer and the permitting process, allowing this multiple use of land if we want to unlock the Agrisolar.
Thanks a lot. And I think we are coming to the end of our interview right now. I have a last question to ask you, Mr. Kelly, and it's a brand new question, but we are at the beginning of a new cycle. In 5 years, we have a 5-year cycle. Your vision for Agrisolar in the next 5 years, how do you see the sector ideally developing? Let's say we meet each other again in 5 years. What would the Agrisolar landscape look like for you?
Well, firstly, I'd love to see an Agrisolar demonstration farm in every country. I know in Ireland we have demonstration farms for suckling, dairying, etc. I don't see any reason why even in those farms Agrisolar couldn't be incorporated. That would set the tone for people to go and look at it and do it themselves, because there's nothing better than seeing. Seeing is believing. And then we would create the environment for it to happen. As I mentioned, simplification, planning and permitting, as simple and as quickly as possible. They have to be time limited, and also connection onto the grid. We have to deal with those issues. And if we could say over the next 5 years, we have dealt with those issues which we saw in 2024, we have now solutions in 2029, we're moving rapidly in the right direction. I think we will bring the whole, not just agricultural community with us, we'll bring the entire community with us, and we'll make massive progress, because we do need renewables, wind, solar, batteries, etc. And then we should also get the message across that it's not just in terms of saving the planet, it's also give us energy security and not having dependence on imported fossil fuels from places like Russia, and also, another point, reducing the ill effects of fossil fuels, cancer, etc., which not enough has been mentioned about either. So it's all positive if we move together, and I think we will. And I'm hoping that Ursula von der Leyen and the Parliament will give that direction. Thank you very much.
Thanks indeed. Thanks, MEP Kelly. Thanks, Eva, a lot for these interventions. It's now time to wrap up. So thanks indeed for participating to the solar session. I will now be very happy to give you a gift and to show you that Agrisolar actually works and delivers. It's not only words. It's also very it's apple juice powered with solar PV, red apple, green energy, and it's my pleasure to grant you this.
Thank you very much. Lovely.
Thank you.